Hi there, welcome to Activating Magic. I'm your host, Darla Ledoux. Today we're talking about embodying your magic. So first of all, this is the Activating Magic podcast. And for me, magic is our divine guidance. It is how Source, the divine collective consciousness, God, Spirit, the universe, energy, how Source wants to work with and through us to create higher consciousness on the planet. And when we are embodied in our magic, we are literally allowing the divine to work through us. Now, I'm going to create this conversation in a particular way. I want you to imagine that you have a vision to create a new retreat. And I'm going to use retreat because that's what I'm talking about today. But you can substitute whatever project is going to call you into greater alignment with your soul's purpose. So we're going to imagine that you are called to host a retreat, and we're going to explore what gets in the way, the things that we think are in the way, what's really in the way, how energy works to support our goal or detract from our goal, and how to move into alignment with the vibrational frequency of who you are becoming when you step into that thing. So in particular, when you step into being a retreat leader, and how that can make you more money, how it can feel lighter, how you can have more fun, all those things. So you have a vision to create a new retreat, and you tell yourself that maybe you're not ready. Your business isn't ready yet. Maybe you don't have enough following. You don't have the money to invest. You don't know how to handle the logistics of a retreat. And, these things might be true. But a big following, stacks of cash, and organizational genius are not required to host a retreat. And these things can be solved with a little help pretty easily. So what I have found time and time again is when someone's called to this work, that there's an inner conflict that actually happens, an energetic conflict or a conflict with their magic that happens. So they know that to facilitate that deep transformation that they want to create in their work, they will need to step into a next level of their sourced magic, their divine guidance, their deep trust and expression of their inner knowing or divine wisdom. They know that if they're inviting clients into something deeper through the work of retreat specifically, and they know that it's what they're here to do. Right? Maybe you're listening, maybe you relate to this. You've gotten the call to lead retreat. But it can be scary because hosting a retreat is intimate work. And you, as the leader, are trusting your ability to guide this. And so I'm going to share what happens for most people. First, I need to break down a little concept that I teach about energy. So I was trained in 7 levels of energy through unpack coaching way back. And for simplicity, I often talk about it as 2 types: default energy and sourced energy. Now, our energy has to do with the thoughts and the vibration associated with our thoughts. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know that. The action we take and what we attract or what we notice in our environment as a match is a product of this vibration, which is a product of our thoughts, right? And energy alone can be either default or sourced energy. It just depends on our motivation or how we're relating to this idea. So, for example, playful energy. Playful energy could be sourced energy. For a lot of us, it's a sourced energy experience to be in play, right? Maybe we grew up really fast and we never got to play as a kid, so we're reclaiming play as an adult, in which case it would be sourced. But for some people, playful energy could be a default energy, a way that they're avoiding feelings or deflecting, right, from really being seen. So no energy is exclusively default or sourced. It really just depends, right? We'll use selfish as another example. I could be selfish as a breakthrough, like putting myself first and caring for my own needs so I'm not projecting them onto others. Or I could be selfish as a default, like not considering anyone to protect myself. So what is default energy and what is sourced energy? Default energy is any way of being that is based in something that happened in the past and we got stuck there and we're trying to control the future based on what happened in the past. So maybe we, behaved a certain way and we got reprimanded and we decided, oh, I'll never be that way again because I don't want the pain of that reprimand. And so then we become, responsible or funny or whatever it may be as a cover for the pain, right? Or to avoid that pain. Past default energy is heavy. It's from a place of fear. It's kind of an automatic behavior pattern. We may not even know we're doing it or being that. And we keep attracting the same thing over and over again. Now, what's beautiful is in this line of work, if you're stepping into hosting retreats, you're stepping into a container to transform that, which we'll get into. So on the other hand, sourced energy is present. It arises in the moment. It's alive and soul aligned. It's like you didn't get it from outside of yourself. It arises from within you. It's relaxed. We're trusting. Sourced energy is love-based, and it really opens up access to our magic. So when someone gets a soul calling to do something new, in this case, a retreat, to create a different result, maybe make a lot of profit from this retreat or transform clients deeply through this retreat, they're being called themselves as the leader to transform a layer of default energy and step into a new vibrational reality, a new sourced energy. So the call to host retreat within it inherently is a call for your own transformation as a leader. And a lot of times people skip over this. This is true every time. Our new path requires new energy. By the way, this is true for your clients as well. When they come seeking your transformational magic, they also need a new energy. So when we think of hosting a retreat as just something we do, and we're not taking into account the energetic component, right? We just think, oh, I need a venue and I need an agenda and I need this and I need that. And we go into the logical and we don't think about who do I need to become. We end up not approaching the idea with proper care and proper tending to ourselves and our magic. We go to logistics and we might go get advice on the practical stuff. And here's the interesting thing. Called to retreat, we are magical. We know we're magical, but we're afraid. And so we instead focus on logistics. And then our default energy pattern will inadvertently seek the advice of the type of person who's going to mirror back our own fear. In other words, you'll go to a business coach who's very logical, who's going to give you all the reasons why retreats are a bad logical idea. But really, they are people who don't have transformational magic. They might be people who fear the intimacy of retreat. Maybe they look really successful and they are really successful hosting big groups or events or keeping a distance online, etc. Those aren't the people to go to ask advice about this because they're not doing it, right? And they might also be secretly afraid of what it takes to host a deeply transformational experience. And because we're afraid of what it takes, we take their advice and we wait because we secretly fear it too. We're afraid to fully embody our magic publicly. And I see this all the time. People come to me all the time and they've been through this cycle time and again where the vision calls, they get nervous, they get advice, and that person affirms that it's scary, they shouldn't do it, and then they stop. And I get it because I have been that person and I have done that. And when we have a default energy pattern that's alive in us and it's ready for transformation, at some level we know this, right? At some level, we know that this retreat will invite us into a new identity or a new reality. And to invite people to transform with us on retreat, not just like go on a vacation or go do yoga and journal, but to really do deep transformational work and to facilitate that, it requires our magic. So we know we're going to need to be tapped into source in a deeper way in order to successfully facilitate this. We may not be conscious of it. That's why I'm recording this conversation. We may not be conscious of it, but we know it at a deep level. That to best guide someone to their higher alignment requires our higher alignment. And here's what's happening for most people around this conversation. Being seen in our magic is scary. Right? Our magic is our knowing. It's our ability to see and know truth. And facilitating transformation is all around helping to reveal truth for your clients that's been hidden from their view. And doing that can be scary for a lot of us because we've developed default energy patterns around being magical. So maybe as a kid, you had been magical. You saw things, you knew things, you said things, you felt things, and you were either shamed for it, or it was diminished or dismissed, or you were gaslit, right? To feel like you were crazy for being tapped in like this. And so you develop a pattern, default energy pattern, to hide your own magic from yourself. And now you're being called to step in front of the room, in circle, to guide folks into their own shadows. But you know you've got yours, right? You know you are afraid, and we've got to work with that. We've got to move the energy and get you more in your body so you can be the potent and powerful and profitable facilitator that you're here to be. So I talk about 4 love patterns, which are default energy patterns that come from a place of love, that are the reason we avoid being fully seen in our magic. And through the experiential work of my retreat, Embody Your Retreat Leader Magic, we actually reveal your love pattern so you can see it, love on it, understand it, work with it, and transform it into a higher vibrational purpose. I'm not going to dive deep into these, but these are reasons that we might hold back on our magic. So maybe you have been trying to prove you're smart, you're useful, you're helpful, you're valuable, and because you're busy doing that, you stay up in your head and you don't tune in to what the space or person really needs. In other words, you and the client have an unconscious agreement. We're just going to stay in our head and be logical and sound smart, but no energy actually moves and it doesn't actually serve to change their life. But it feels safe and you don't have to be seen in your magic. Or maybe your magic really sees people, and when you see people, you see their pain. And then you feel like you need to save them. And so you avoid seeing it because you know you're going to just be in pain and try to save them to get out of pain. And really, you're not seeing them in their power. You're seeing them in their brokenness. And that can be a hard way to go through life. So we would disassociate from that, as opposed to allowing people to feel their pain and let that motivate them to access their inner power. We need that skill as a retreat leader. Maybe you hold or back down your magic, dumb it down because in the past, people were uncomfortable with you and your magic. I remember I had a reading once where this intuitive told me that as a kid, I would stare through people and that I really knew what was going on beyond what they wanted me to see. And it made them uncomfortable. And I started to pick up on this and I started to dumb it down. And that's a protect pattern. I need to hold back and protect people from my magic. Or maybe you focus on being likable and you want everyone else to, be like, you want to be like everyone else rather than embracing your uniqueness. You want to hold that connection above all, and the connection, the desire to be with and in connection keeps you from allowing your unique magic to come through. So the default energy pattern that we developed in the past to try to hold back the expression of our magic is what we will need to transform to step into being retreat leader. And, maybe yours is author or something like that. But that needs transformation in order to embody a deeper level of your magic. So I'll give you a few examples. I had a client, Dr. Devia, who, had gotten advice from her grandma, who was also magical, that being magical was dangerous and you shouldn't, trust it, and you would get ridiculed if you are magical. And she would get messages, words popping in to her brain from source, and she was afraid of them. And so she wouldn't listen. She would block out these messages. And in her work, she ended up feeling like she was constantly giving people band-aids instead of addressing the root cause of what was going on, because it didn't have anywhere to go, right? These messages from source, she hadn't set up her business or her life in such a way that it would have anywhere to go. Today, she hosts retreats where people are paying her for her divine wisdom about how to create their ultimate life. But at that time, it was like she was pushing it away. Another example, Laura, she had an experience in the past where her intuitive magic actually saved her life. She just knew, don't go. And she told her friends, hey, I just have a bad feeling, I'm not going. Her friends went anyway and they passed away. And it made her really afraid of her knowing. Like the pain and the grief of losing her friends made her afraid of her knowing. Another example, Lori, her parents made fun of her for saying things. Right? She knew things and she said them and was ridiculed for it. Like it was shamed out of her, this knowing. Many of the clients who come to me have a past life or a collective energy fear of being persecuted for their knowing, for their magic, right? The medical institution systematically exterminated magic, right? There was loads of money put against propaganda to make people fearful of healers that were not graduates of the medical system, right? And so in addition to witch burning and all of that, there was a systemic message that knowing and healing on your own is bad and wrong. And so a lot of the people who are called to host retreats go through this process of wondering, is what I see right? Is this real? Can transformational work really heal? Do I have energy in my hands? Is that a real thing? Does my vibration actually have an impact? I think it does, but does it? Do I really see these energetic connections? Is that true, or am I making shit up, right? And it's because we've been gaslit into putting our power outside of ourselves as opposed to trusting our own magic. So here's the thing. Every layer we shift gives us more access to our sourced magic. So again, our sourced magic is how the divine works with and through us to create higher consciousness in our life and the lives of others. There is vibration magic, expression magic, expansion magic, sensation magic, compassion magic, recognition magic, and you can find yours at sourcedexperience.com/quiz. There's 6 types of magic, and every layer of our own default energy, our own fear-based strategies to avoid being seen in our magic, every time we shift a layer of that, we have greater access to our magic. We make literally more room in our bodies for our magic to inhabit our physicality. And it makes our work on our retreat more potent. Because these default energy patterns aren't just thoughts, they're patterns in our body, right? They manifest as heart walls. I'm going to protect my heart, and it's a literal field. Maybe in the sacral chakra, we have a refusal to receive creative energy and impulse because we're afraid of where that expression might lead us. So we just shut it down before it even comes in. Maybe we have shoulder, neck, or back pain as a result of long-standing heaviness, a tendency to leave our body and converse only from our headspace, right? We might physically feel so uncomfortable in our body because of this energy that we just leave. And more and more and more. There's all these different variations of how default energy patterns actually are in our physical body. So when we've got this stuff going on and we decide to host a retreat, guess what happens? Source is good, and Source will send us to our retreat people who are a match for our energy. And then those people will provide us a mirror for our own growth. And again, we're wise. At some level, we know this, which is why hosting the retreat feels scary to begin with. Because if we're not actually embodying our magic, we're going to bump up against people who have similar stuff. Now, if we're trained and we have the skills, we can be in the moment, facilitating a retreat, have a client maybe be in resistance. We can experience the resistance, see it for what it is, a mirror. Oh, wow, that person is a lot like me. And we can love on them and heal ourselves. We can process it in the moment, or we can write it down and phone a friend, phone a coach, and process that so that we move that energy. But what's even better is to move the energy beforehand so that all the people drawn to your retreat are there for the transformation. There's not resistance. They're not reflecting hidden patterns that you've got in your own field. And it's a lot more easeful and a lot more fun. If we've got these patterns and we're so afraid, the other thing that will happen is we don't attract anybody, right? Because people don't feel safe with us because we're embodying this default as opposed to embodying sourced energy and sourced magic. So here's my invitation to approach your new retreat vision, or whatever your vision is, as an invitation to further embody your magic. And this is especially true when it comes to live retreats in person. You're with people, your physical presence is taking up a lot of space. So when we approach our new retreat vision as an invitation to further embody our magic, and we put ourselves in a space to transform ourselves to meet that call, for example, coming to my Embody retreat, we will be aligned and ready to serve at the highest level. And guess what? Being a retreat leader as a part of how you do business will assure that you are always aligned and ready for your next level of growth. Building retreats in as a cyclical part of your business model uplevels you, aligns you, connects you more with your magic, more with your divine expression as sourced energy. You'll become more and more embodied in your magic as a matter of course when leading retreats is a part of how you work. So if this is speaking to you, I'm just going to speak to a few benefits of embodying your magic, and I invite you to join me on retreat to embody your retreat leader magic. If you've got the call, you've gotten the tap on the shoulder that hosting retreats is right for you, come play around with moving the energy that would be causing you fear of showing up fully in your divine magic. So some benefits of embodying your magic. You don't have to remember to be magical. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to have everything figured out in advance, because your magic will guide you to the highest vibration in the moment, right? You can fully trust it. You don't have to control it. You don't have to remember it. You can relax, you can breathe, and you can emanate who you are. Your presence will catalyze transformation. So just the process, like it's not a lot of work, right? A simple exercise delivered by you is going to cause people to see their default energy pattern, to see what's been hidden from their view and bring it into light. Your presence will catalyze transformation. You will know how to energetically read whatever situation comes up at retreat. Because when you're tapped into your magic and you understand the tools I teach, like the anatomy of a transformation, for example, you'll be able to tell, where is this client in their journey and what do they need from me in my magic in this moment. And you'll just know it as an embodied knowing, not as something you have to think about. You will know when to go there, when to coach, when to dig around in the shadows, when to hold space for someone to really be with the truth of their energy so they can move it. And you'll know when not to go there. And you'll know it as an embodied knowing, not again as a thing to think about. Your handling of things, this is cool. When things go wrong on retreat, because sometimes things go wrong, you have strangers at the venue or weather or whatever it may be, how you handle things that go wrong at your retreat is going to be so enrolling. So when you're embodied in your magic, right, something happens, you can receive it, you can tune in, you can respond, and everything is a little bit on slow motion as you do, and time slows down for you and you handle with grace and ease. And when your clients witness you doing that, they want what you're having. They want what you're having. So those moments where things go wrong and they watch how you handle it from an embodied place of knowing, they are going to want to keep working with you. You have, and by the way, this includes like you set up agreements in the space. And if someone crosses an agreement, which is going to happen, and you have to enforce a boundary around an agreement, how you handle that, right? That is also so easy when you're aligned with your magic. If you're in your head and you're thinking, oh no, what do I do? Not so great. Okay. So another benefit of embodying your magic, you can really hold that safe space fiercely without having to think hard about it. And then you have no trouble valuing your magic. When you are embodying it, you've made it valid, right? Like my knowing is valid. I trust it. You've made it visible, right? By how you behave as you facilitate the group. And because of that, it is valuable, right? You know it's valuable because you've practiced it. You've practiced trusting it. You've demonstrated it. You've been seen in it, and you know it's valuable, and your clients know it's valuable. So when you offer integration work from your retreat, which I highly recommend, you support people after the retreat, they get the value because they've seen it work, and you don't doubt the value because you've seen it work. And this is why I invite you to embody your magic. And in particular, if you have a retreat vision, to embody your retreat leader magic. So I've got a retreat coming up. It's October 8th through 10th in Glenwood Springs, Colorado. And in this 3-day experience, we will release the default energy pattern. We'll release control. We will receive the truth about what wants to transform. right? Our current limit, our current fear, our current edge when it comes to showing up powerfully and magically. We will see it, we will love on it, and we will transform it. And then we will rise in a new energy. There is a soul-aligned version of you that this vision is calling you into. And we'll identify that. We'll put words to it. We'll put visuals to it. You'll be witnessed in it and have deep, deep confidence. And we'll plan your retreat from that place. So if that's speaking to you and you know that your call to become a retreat leader is not just about logistics or travel, but it's actually about a becoming, then this is for you. You can go to sourcedexperience.com/embody to grab your spot. Don't delay. We have an early bird expiring one of these days, so get there soon. All right, big hugs.